Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe. Today we start the first of our Kingdoms of Azeroth podcast. This being playlist which is being made to celebrate us reaching 1,000 subs. I couldn't have done it without you all, my friends. Hail to the Alliance and to the Horde for their generosity towards me and my channel. I truly am grateful and wish you all the very best, my friends. Now, without further ado, let's get to the story, because that's what you're really here about. The Kingdom of Stormwind was originally founded by descendants of the Arathi. The Arathi being those people of the Empire of Arathor. I could get into Arathor a little, but that would be a separate playlist. But to make a long story short, Arathor was a large empire far to the north of Stormwind. It eventually collapsed, with many of the tribes and people wandering over to the continent of Lordaeron and through the rocky mountains of Khazmodan to the south, where a great deal of the Arathi people would end up in the northern part of the continent they named Azeroth. It was within this region that they founded a city and a kingdom, both that shared the same name, Stormwind. Now, the events that I speak of take place 1,200 years before the first Warcraft game. The kingdom apparently had a long and prosperous history, with the king served by the Brotherhood of the Horse and the Holy Order of Northshire clerics. In regards to the knighthood, one should perhaps consider them like the Knights of the Garter from England. Founded, yes, to protect the king, but also as a point of honor and as a reward to the most faithful of all those who abide by the oaths of chivalry within the realm of Stormwind. As to the Holy Order of Northshire clerics, they in turn trace their roots back to the Church of the Holy Light in Lordaeron, with the devout clerics having arrived south, preaching their faith within Stormwind. They would establish the Northshire Abbey, which became a critical component of the kingdom, a great civilizing force within the realm. And the importance of this abbey cannot be stressed, as the clerics would serve likely as secretaries, clerks, and major administrative officials within the realm of Stormwind. We should make perhaps a similar comparison to the Cluniac and the Cluniac monks and the French monarchy, or even the Monastère de Saint-Denis, which is to say the abbey where the French royal kings were buried, with those monks serving as chief clerks, administrative officials, close friends to a multitude of French kings. That said, the kings of Stormwind also established close ties with the Kirin Tor, the Order of Magic, so that the Kirin Tor had to maintain an ambassador of sorts, also known as the Court Conjurer, who represented the Kirin Tor at the king's court. The peculiar thing about Stormwind is that while the kingdom is about 12 centuries old, that said, no detail has been released on the first few centuries of Stormwind's history. You have very little to go on. That said, where the Arathi ended up succumbing to a great deal of infighting and whatnot, the Rin dynasty was able to hold on to a great deal of control over their feudal barons, with the overall structure of Stormwindian society being something of a feudal one, as mentioned. The first real monarch of the Rin dynasty that we're introduced to in the lore would be Landon Rin, who was father to Berethan Rin, and it was apparently during his reign that Egwin, the guardian of Azeroth, became with child and gave birth 9 months later to Medivh. But it's the next king after Landon that gives us our first hint that the Rin dynasty is a fresh one. Namely, Berethan Rin gives us the clue. As according to the chronicles of the war in Azeroth, Berethan Rin is named King Rin the Third. The Third? So this means that his dad, Landon Rin, was not the founder of the dynasty, but was the second Rin king, which means that Berethan's grandfather must have usurped the throne or founded the dynasty in some capacity. So obviously they're not as old as the kingdom itself, but they are the most prominent dynasty because we don't know about the others. Berethan Rin was nicknamed the Adamant due to his bravery during the Knoll War, and was obviously an incredible monarch. And he was the ruler of the prosperous and peaceful kingdom of Stormwind up until the Gurubashi War, 18 years before the First War. That said, Blizzard has never really filled out too much of the details of how the Rin family came to prominence within Stormwind. But it is an interesting fact that Berethan's grandfather took the throne. Maybe if ever they consider a prequel story for Stormwind, maybe it should be about how the Rin family took the throne. That might be interesting, but this means that Landon might not have been born a king. Berethan Rin, though, very likely was, as it could be that when his grandfather took the throne, his father was either a child or a young man, and in turn, Berethan was raised a monarch. Regardless of the circumstances, it seems like his own son, Lane, was certainly raised a crowned prince. So, without further ado, that concludes my first video on the Kingdom of Stormwind. Mainly, I wanted to do the founding of the city and the kingdom, and kind of puzzle over the matter of the Rin dynasty. Next time, I'm going to probably examine the city of Stormwind itself, the castle keep, as best I could from what I can gather, and I'm going to get into the events of Barathin's reign, followed by Lane's reign. They might as well be grouped together. So if you enjoyed this video and look forward to the next one, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Anduin taking down an orc.